Well, it's not as easy as it seems. For more on the growing influencer industry, I'm joined by Kyle Wong, the CEO and co-founder of Pixlee, a visual marketing platform that enables brands to market and sell with customer photos and videos. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So what would you say have been the biggest changes to the influencer industry since it started with its rather humble beginnings?
That's a great question. So when you think about the influencer community, I think today people have a very narrow vantage point on it around Instagram photos that are posted online. I think a better way to think about the industry is word-of-mouth marketing and social proof at scale. And over the last few years, what you've seen is how technology has really made everyone a storyteller. So you spoke earlier about some of the influencers who are, using the webcam, and they've allowed everyone to be a storyteller, whether it is the digital natives to, the parents who can now create great content on their phone.
So give us a reality check for all our aspiring influencers out there, because we've seen a lot of reports of people essentially going broke, just trying to become influencers. So just how much work goes into attaining and maintaining the status of influencer?
Well, I think the grass is always greener for everyone, regardless of your role. And a lot of the influencers that we see work very, very hard at their craft. And the reality is to become an influencer and to be known for a particular topic takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a lot of consistency. So what we've seen across the board is these influencers not only are very amazing creative storytellers, but they're also incredibly diligent around the process of creating content for their followers.
So what's the biggest mistake that you see new influencers making?
Well, I think the biggest mistake I see a lot of them making actually is kind of quitting too early. Right now, when you think about the influencer community, there is a lot of competition. And I think the best way to break into the industry is to really have a focus. For example, it could be a focus on food, it could be focused on travel, it could be a focus on beauty. The better your focus and the more expertise you have towards a topic, I think ultimately the more credible and the more authentic your content will be.
Now, certainly the number of followers, the amount of influence you have can vary very widely. So what share of influencers can actually make a good living doing this?
Well, I think there's a couple ways to think about that. Obviously, when you think about just the number of followers, obviously anyone with over 100,000 followers can definitely pay the bills. However, what you're seeing right now in the influencer marketing community is that a lot of these influencers are being paid by brands to also just create the content. So while some of them are paid to post online, a lot of these brands, especially these global brands who are trying to localize and tell a more authentic story, they're reaching out to influencers to just tell their message in a more authentic way.
So then from a brand's perspective, what's their process in identifying and collaborating with specific influencers?
Well, I think from a brand perspective, the process right now for identifying and collaborating with influencers is very manual. And there's definitely new software out there in the world that helps make that more scalable. But I would say right now it's a pretty manual process with a lot of middlemen in between. However, I think long term, like I said, the concept of influencer is not just large-scale influencers or micro-influencers, but it's also your larger community. And it's anyone who has the ability to share and have that word of mouth be scalable by social media.
Now let's also look at the challenges. We saw that boxing star Floyd Mayweather and producer DJ Khaled were recently fined by the Securities and Exchange Commission for promoting a cryptocurrency without disclosing that they were paid to promote it. So give us an idea of some of the gray area or issues coming up in terms of how the influencer industry is regulated.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think regardless of the industry, I think trust and transparency are incredibly important. And in the influencer community, the whole industry is built on this concept of authenticity. So I think that when it comes to influencers, it's not just about the reach, but also where your area of expertise is as well. And there are some influencers like DJ Khaled, for example, that are probably a lot more credible in areas like music than cryptocurrency.
That certainly makes sense. Now, just very quickly, looking at the e-commerce trends, what does this specific type of online advertising offer that traditional avenues don't?
Well, I think one thing that's really powerful with the influencer marketing community is just the scale that it has at a localized level. For example, these global e-commerce trends that are happening, you're seeing these emerging markets happening across the world. And as a marketer, it's really hard to be able to tell that localized message because you don't have a marketing team in 100 different countries in various different cities. So by tapping into these influencers, you can actually really localize that message much more effectively, and that actually performs much better from e-commerce perspective.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Kyle Wong there, CEO and co-founder of Pixlee.